business ideas. How do entrepreneurs think of all these great business ideas? Well, we know who entrepreneurs are and some examples of some famous entrepreneurs throughout history, but how did they think of their business ideas? Well, here's a few ways that entrepreneurs think of their ideas: needs, life experiences, passion, and tragedy. We're going to talk about some needs or problems that we can solve. There's a website called BrainJet, and there's some really cool ideas here. So this is 15 inventions that solve annoying little problems. Problems basically are needs, right? So we want to solve those needs. So baggie holder, that's kind of a cool deal right there, right? You put your Ziploc baggie in there, and if you're making salsa or other things, then you can just pour it in there, and then that way you don't have to hold it open with your hands while you're putting stuff in there. So it keeps it nice and easy. So here's another one, internal sink rack. A lot of you guys probably have this one at home. It is like a drying rack for your dishes, and you can also put your dishes in there when they're soapy after you've washed them, and then rinse them right off. So that's a super cool little thing to do. Here's another one. I love this one. This is the one-handed bottle opener. So why would you ever need that, right? Well, if you ever had a broken hand or broken finger or broken thumb, it's probably pretty hard to open a bottle, because you have to hold it tight with one hand and then untwist it with the other hand, or grab a bottle opener with the other hand. This way you can do both things, hold the bottle and open it with one hand. So that's a need that was met by the one-handed bottle opener. I love that idea. So here's a blow-up back seat shelf. So I guess if you're a caterer, for instance, and you've got to carry a bunch of stuff nice and flat, this would be a great way to use your regular car and carry a bunch of stuff around that you don't want to knock over. Oh, this was a good one too. Rotating shoe rack. Okay, so if you're like our family, there's just 4 of us, and we must have 30 or 40 pairs of shoes in the garage, and they're all over the place. We've got this rack, but it's a mess. This is a super neat little rotating shoe rack that keeps things nice and neat, all in there. And you know, the top is a big shelf that you could, guess what, put more shoes on. But really cool idea. That's a need. If you've got a lot of shoes you need to deal with, that's a great idea. So that's an invention somebody solved. We'll go to this one last. And this is cool. So if you're exercising and you have your bottle of water, but then you have your car key or money or a credit card or whatever, and you don't know where to put that, because a lot of gym shorts or running shorts don't have pockets in there. This is an awesome device that you can carry your water, but then you also have room for those other things that you have to take with you when you go exercise, especially if you have running shorts with no pockets in it. So those are just some great examples of needs that were met by inventions and businesses, and you can do the same thing too. So Jake Burton was inspired by his own life experiences of riding the Snurfer and came up with a better idea. So his inspiration from his own life experiences turned into the snowboards we have today.
They were advertising the Snurfer as a winter skateboard.
Time was right, circumstances were right, and he had that flash of brilliance.
Surfing happens to be my favorite sport. I do it almost every day, and I've had the same board for 12 years.
Surfing is adaptable to all age groups for play or for sport. There are outrageous hot doggers, and there are Sunday surfers who coast down the hill.
I'm Jake Burton, carpenter of Burton Snowboards in Londonderry, Vermont.
Those boards were barely rideable, but it was fun. That's why I pursued it with my life.
So he started making something of his own, and that's where he saw an everyday need. Lots of people were snowboarding, and he decided that he could make it better, and he's the biggest snowboard producer in the world today. This is a great one. You all know the jet ski, right? So that's the Sea-Doo, it's the jet ski. So one day Clayton Jacobson, after a motorcycle race, he had fallen off and he had a bunch of scratches and bruises, and he was laying in the water in a nearby where they were racing, and he thought, man, wouldn't it be awesome to have a way to have the fun of motorcycle riding but not get hurt like you do on motorcycles. So that's where he came up with the idea for the jet ski. It was first called the Sea-Doo, and then ultimately Kawasaki came along and licensed the work from him. He went to work in his garage and figured out a way to make something that people could stand up on like the jet ski and have fun motorcycle riding. So here's a look at that. So basically, just like you're standing up on the motorcycle, you can stand up on a jet ski. This was the old ways. You don't see many jet skis like this around anymore, but this is where it really started and totally took off. And Kawasaki, with the stand-up version, did amazingly well. So that was something that came out of his passion for motorcycle riding. He wanted to be safe, and he invented the Sea-Doo and then the jet ski, and it has been a worldwide phenomenon ever since. Ramani is the inventor of the rubber-soled hiking boots. So after a tragedy in Italy where 6 climbers died, he went to work with Pirelli, a tire manufacturer, and ultimately put rubber soles onto boots for the first time, and this really changed the face of climbing as we know it today and saved a lot of lives. He looked at the old shoes. These old shoes, look at that old boot. That's just leather on the bottom, and they were called hobnail boots, and that's what climbers traditionally wore, but ultimately those are slippery, right? So he worked with Pirelli, the tire manufacturer, and came up with a new sole for climbing boots, and ultimately just by putting rubber on the bottom of that leather boot enabled climbers to do things they've never been able to do before. And in fact, all the way back in 1954, an Italian expedition was able to climb the 2nd highest mountain in the world for the first time wearing the shoes Vitali had created called Vibram. Vibram were the soles that go on the bottom of the shoes, and they were able to approach and climb the different sections of the mountain wearing those new shoes that he had created. So La Sportiva, you see here, those are climbing shoes, and that's what we see every day. That's the most popular climbing shoe around the world. And here's something else that you see a lot more common now. A few years back, something called the 5 fingers. That's what has been a craze out there, and the rubber soles on those, if you look at the little bottom, there's a logo on there. That's the Vibram logo, and it's on all of these shoes. The Vibram sole is what makes all these cool shoes possible and gives people the ability to climb mountains and climb rocks like they were never able to before a tragedy occurred, and that inspired him to create something new. And today, Vibram sells over 40 million pairs of climbing and hiking boot soles. It's an amazing business worldwide. Oh man, I love rock climbing, and you can only really do it well if you're wearing their special rock climbing shoes. And La Sportiva, which is a brand with the Vibram soles on them, the Vibram rubber, is what makes it possible.